All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this joint committee meeting with the Senate Committee on Finance and the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means. We are the Subcommittee on Public Safety, Natural Resources, and Transportation. I'm Senator Angie Taylor, and I have the honor of running this meeting this morning, and we will start at the top with our roll. Madam Secretary.
Assemblymember Anderson. Assemblymember Brown May. Assemblymember Dickman. Assemblymember Hibbets. Assemblymember Mosca. Senator Wen. Senator Titus. Assemblymember Watts.
Here.
And Chair Taylor.
I am present, and please mark Assemblymember Hibbets and Senator Wynn present when they arrive. But we do have a quorum, so we can go on about our business. Just a couple of housekeeping matters as we begin, and you and I know you hear it all the time. Please silence your electronic devices. Notice we don't ask you to turn them off because you won't do that anyway. But we do ask you to silence them if you would. If you are going to testify or present when you come forward, please make sure you turn the microphone on. And then when you're finished speaking, please make sure you turn the microphone off. When you speak, please state your name loudly and clearly and spell your last name for the record. And every time you speak, then we need you to please repeat your name so that we can have our minutes. They can be accurately reflected as we go on this morning. Also, you will see that we have committee members have laptops in front of us and other electronic devices. Please don't take that as a sign of inattention or disrespect. We have notes, exhibits, and so on, and we refer you them quite often during your hearing. So we are right there with you. Don't worry about it at all. You haven't lost anybody. We are still right there. This morning, we will hear, we have budget hearings from the governor's office, the Office of the Military, and the Department of Veteran Services. We do have someone on Zoom. I think we have people on in Las Vegas, so welcome in Las Vegas as well, and welcome if there's anybody on the phone line. Speaking of the phone line, if you would like to call in to make public comment or to testify, that number is 888-475-4499, and the meeting ID for this meeting is 869-4115-4411. I'll repeat that number again at the end of the meeting for public comment. Okay, then we will begin with our first budget, and we will go in order. We'll start with the governor's office. Please come forward. Thank you for being here this morning. I think we have a phone a friend in Vegas coming forward, okay? And please begin when you're ready.
Good morning. This is Sharon Luce, L-U-C-E. I'm the Deputy Administrator for the Division of Emergency Management. I just want to say good morning, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. On behalf of our team, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present our budget enhancement requests. The Division of Emergency Management is dedicated to helping Nevadans before, during, and after disasters. We achieved this by building a resilient Nevada through coordination and partnerships at all levels. Our mission remains focused on preparing for, responding to, and recovering from emergencies and disasters that continue to grow in number, variety, and complexity. Our budget requests for the upcoming biennium reflects our commitment to maintaining and enhancing Nevada's emergency management and homeland security capabilities. As the state's coordination hub during crises, we must ensure our team and Nevada is prepared and equipped to address the evolving threat landscape, including extreme weather events, cybersecurity incidents, infrastructure disruptions, and public safety challenges. Our requested budget enhancements include personnel transitions and conversions. We're transitioning contractors to permanent roles to improve stability and continuity, including positions such as accounting assistant, GIS specialist, and public information officer. New positions to strengthen capacity, adding critical roles, including a role coordinator, IT professional, and loan officer to support grant programs. Technology and training investments, upgrading learning platforms, maintaining essential equipment, and investing in leadership training to strengthen readiness. We're also proposing a transition from the Office of the Military to the Governor's Office. This is to establish us as the lead coordinator amongst other state agency directors during emergencies and disasters so that we can work together to provide capabilities and capacity to serve our Nevadans during emergencies. We're also aware that several pieces of proposed legislation, including Senate Bill 413, may impact our staffing needs. Senate Bill 413 outlines the establishment of the Nonprofit Security Grant Pilot Program, which will require administrative support to manage and distribute funds effectively. Should this or legislation be enacted, we may need to request additional personnel resources to ensure successful implementation. We recognize the fiscal challenges faced by the state and remain committed to maximizing the impact of every dollar received. Our budget proposal aligns state funds with federal grants to sustain vital emergency management functions while preparing Nevada for both foreseeable and emerging threats. In conclusion, maintaining the capabilities and readiness of the Nevada Division of Emergency Management is essential to safeguarding and building more resilient communities. Your continued support ensures that we can effectively coordinate emergency response efforts and build a more resilient Nevada. Thank you for consideration, and I'm going to pass it on to Jared Franco in Carson City. He's our Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Chair, committee members. My name is Jared Franco, for the record, CFO for the Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. I will begin talking about our budget enhancements today, beginning with the conversions. For Decision Unit E806, this request is to reclassify our Deputy Administrator position from classified to unclassified and align the pay within the duties. The next is Decision Unit E300. This request is to transition a contractor to an AA3. This position assists the finance team and CFO with administrative tasks and reports. The next transition is Decision Unit 303. This request is to transition an existing contractor to a GIS 3 position. This position manages the GIS databases and applications for our division that support emergency response operations. Moving on to Decision Unit 307, this request is to transition an existing contractor to a Public Information Officer 1 position. This position assists in alleviating current demands and ensures positive, transparent, and accurate public engagement in preparation of and also during crisis response. Next slide. Moving on to our new positions, Decision Unit 301. This is for an Accounting Assistant 4. This position will ensure timely and accurate processing of grant reimbursements in compliance with state and federal regulations, assist in prepping reports, audit account documents, and support the finance section with other duties as assigned. Decision Unit E305 is for the request for a new management analyst. This will be a rule coordinator housed in Northeastern Nevada in Elko Emergency Management Office. This position will support rural and frontier areas in Northeastern Nevada by assisting in the development and oversight of emergency management initiatives, by enhancing interagency coordination, and to provide technical assistance, resources, and training to the rural emergency managers. The next request is Decision Unit E310. This is for a new IT Professional 1 position. This position will play a critical role in assisting the Communications Systems Manager by handling daily IT operations, cybersecurity, and cybersecurity support. The next request is Decision Unit E350. This position is for a new loan officer. This position is contingent on the passage of SB 39, and this position will help create and manage the new program called the Safeguarding Tomorrow through Ongoing Risk Mitigation Act, or the STORM Act. The next slide. Okay, so moving on to the next request, Decision Unit E308. This request is to create a meal fund with a federal authority under Regulation 2 CFR 200.432. This is the best and most transparent way for our agency to be able to purchase food with allowed federal funding for National Guard personnel who can't leave their posts during missions or incidents, and to also purchase meals for members of training and exercises our division puts on that we request stay for a working lunch. The next request is Decision Unit E311. This request is for data miner licenses. The data miner will provide real-time alerts from publicly available sources. This software will allow DEM staff to properly prepare, respond, and mitigate from emergencies and disasters. The next request is Decision Unit E315. This is for 5 existing contracts that our division is currently using. It's to continue the contracts and the needed authority to continue those contracts. So the next 2 decision unit requests, 316 and 317, they are both requests for federal authority for staff to attend beneficial conferences. These conferences include Homeland Security Conference, International Association of Emergency Managers, the Urban Area Working Group, technical visits to our stakeholders and partners for program and grant related tasks. The next request is Decision Unit E318. This request is for a mid-level leadership training that was developed by Florida Emergency Management and McChrystal's group. This training fills a much needed void in available leadership training for emergency managers. Moving on to Decision Unit 319. This is a request for federal authority to pay for membership fees for division staff to be members of the Nevada Emergency Preparedness Association. Please don't get nervous about this number. This ask also includes 2 contract staff salaries for the mitigation section. When it came out of GovRec, it was noticed too late to be able to get it changed before the testimony. Moving on to Decision Unit E125, excuse me. This request is for the federal authority to send members of the Cybersecurity Task Force to the National Cybersecurity Association, as well as the associated membership fees with that conference. Moving on to Decision Unit 328. This is a request for the DHRM cost allocation for the division's anticipated move to the governor's office. I will point out this calculation and funding recommendation was done by the GFO. Decision Unit E710 is a request for the replacement and purchase of division's technology, hardware, and software. This request was based on the division's needs, as well as the CIO's recommended replacement schedule. And then last request for budget account 3673 is Decision Unit E720. This request is for a purchase of a new vehicle with federal funds for our division in FY27. So that closes out budget account 3673. Moving on to budget account 3675. Decision Unit E900 is a transfer. It's a request to move the Nevada Threat Analysis Center supervisor to the correct budget in the Department of Public Safety. That budget account is 3743. So the next 2 requests, E300 and E301, is a request to increase travel authority for the division's administrator to the needed authority levels. Pending any questions, that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate you walking us through that. Mr. Franco, we do have a few questions, and we will, you smile like, yeah, I know you do. Just not bad, just a few, it's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, we will start with Assemblymember Brown May.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation and for being here and for all of your service. I have a question with regard to the transition. Right, emergency management into governor's office. How do we move it out of the office of the military? And what are some of the issues that you anticipate will arise or have arisen? And then how are you addressing those?
Thank you for the question, ma'am. For the record, Jared Franco, CFO, Emergency Management. Through you, Chair, to Assembly Member Brown May.
Please go. Please feel free to go.
Thank you, ma'am. So honestly, ma'am, we don't suspect it to be challenging at all. We're staying in the same location. We're going to use the same services, OTM, for buildings and grounds. And I think the biggest challenge is just the communication piece that we've received so far. We're still waiting on, the wording from the bill and the actual notification if it's going to happen or not. So that seems to be the biggest challenge. But other than that, it's going to be a seamless transition.
Thank you. Follow-up, Chair. Thank you. So just to get that clarified, we do have a bill draft request. Does it have a bill number? And so it's working its way. We have a companion legislation to work with the request that's coming out of the finance. Correct?
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome, Assemblymember Chair Watts.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple of questions. First of all, I just want to follow up on my colleague's question. Can you give us a little bit of additional background? Because it was not too long ago in the past. I think I was a member of the subcommittee when DEM moved out of DPS into the Office of the Military, and now looking to move into the governor's office. So can you just very high level explain kind of why you're moving to another home and how you think that'll be a better fit?
Absolutely, sir. Jared Franco for the record. And I'll actually pass that question to our Deputy Administrator down in Vegas, Sharon Luce.
Chair, this is Sharon Luce, Deputy Administrator.
Go right ahead.
So to answer that question, we're currently under the Office of the Military, and that has worked well. However, as a division administrator level, coordinating amongst other state agency directors, this would allow the administrator to coordinate, at the same level as the state agencies. We actually started operating in this way last summer. Davis Fire was a big one. Where we're responsible for communicating directly with the governor, as well as state agencies directors from the Department of Public Safety, the Division of Forestry, the Department of Conservation Natural Resources, and essentially this allows us to streamline that approach and work together and collaborate together to share resources across the various state agencies to contribute to whatever emergency or disaster that we're working on. Like I said, Davis Fire was a big one, and it just allows us to have that communication in a coordinated fashion without having to go through additional layers like the Adjutant General. And the Adjutant General was a part of those conversations when we had those emergencies. But it's just another step, another way for us to be able to coordinate more directly as the lead for any emergency and disaster response. We also work very closely with the governor's office to develop declarations for emergencies and disasters that lead to federal presidential disaster declarations as well. And so that close coordination and communication and work is already represented in how we operate today. So this would help establish us in that space at that level, at the needed level, for us to continue to have those conversations with the various levels of the governor's office and the state agencies. So that's why Jared is saying this would be a seamless transition for us, because we have been coordinating and communicating in this way as it is. And then also in our Emergency Operations Center in Carson City, there is a seat at the table for what we call emergency support functions and recovery support functions, and those are representatives at state agencies at a more operational technical level. And so, we're able to give and come up with any type of policy changes from the state directors and the agency and the governor's office at the policy level, which then translates to objectives and an understanding for those operators on what resources they'll be contributing to an emergency and how to operationalize the policies that get changed during a disaster declaration. I hope that answers that question.
Yes, thank you. That was a very thorough answer, and I think that gives me the background that I was looking for. I have a few questions now, shifting gears to the Storm Revolving Loan Fund program. So first of all, could you give us some examples of projects that would be funded under this grant program?
Absolutely. Jared Franco for the record. So the Storm Act is meant to assist the smaller rural counties with mitigation projects that are assist them with the funding that they might not have for mitigation projects that they need. In either terms of actual projects or the match for a mitigation grant that they need for that project. So for an example, if, just throwing it out there, if they needed to install a culvert in one of their roads and it was, $10 million, that's $2.5 million match that they would need to be able to accept that grant. The smaller rural communities might have a difficult time to come up with that type of cash. So the Storm Act would provide low interest loan for them to obtain that $2.5 million so they can accept that overall $10 million grant to install that culvert. And that was that example suffice for your needs, sir?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good example. So we know that you're looking to get this loan officer position. So if SB 39 passes and the loan officer position's approved, when do you expect that you'd apply for a capitalization grant from FEMA? Yeah, that's the next question.
Thank you for the question, Jared Franco for the record. So the goal would be to apply for the capitalization grant during the biennium. Once we have if the position in SB 39 is approved, would create the program, the regulations, the parameters of it, then we would apply for the capitalization grant during the biennium.
Thank you for that. I think as follow-up, it'd be helpful to get a more detailed estimate of when in the biennium you'd hope to achieve that, but we can follow up on that later. If you do not get the capitalization grant from FEMA, then what would the plan be for the loan officer position that would now be created?
Jared Franco for the record, that's a great question, sir. And that's something that we'd have to have internal discussions with the senior leadership to advise a plan on that.
Thank you. And, one of the reasons I'm asking is it looks like a portion of the funding for this is in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Obviously, there's a lot of federal funding uncertainty. So, again, I think as a follow-up, we can take that a little bit offline, but it would be helpful for us if you have any sense on the outlook on this, both on, have folks up to this point that have come forward and requested these capitalization grants, have they all been approved, or is there some uncertainty in that? And then also moving forward, if there's been any updates in terms of either continued sense of certainty that that federal funding is going to be available, or if this is one of the many areas where it's up in the air, that would just be helpful for us to know. So, and then, so it's my understanding that matching funds are also needed for this capitalization grant. And so how would your agency obtain those matching funds? Because I do not see that currently in the budget proposal.
Yes, sir. Jared Franco for the record. So the matching funds, or they called the seed fund, would have to be general fund. So during the biennium, after we create the program, we'd have to come to IFC and request the seed fund through the matching general funds.
And last question. Thank you, Chair, for the indulgence. Do you have any sense of what the capitalization grant amount could be, and therefore what amount of general funds we would need to put forward to seed that?
Again, Jared Franco for the record. So all we have right now is a high interest of the rural communities of this passing. We don't have actual number estimate, and we probably wouldn't be able to get that until we create the program. But we can absolutely, Assembly member, we would absolutely keep you in the loop as things progress and it gets moved along.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yes, please do keep us in the loop. And then finally, would you see that the cost for the loan officer would be offset long-term by the low interest repayments and other items associated with the revolving loan fund itself?
Again, Jared Franco for the record. Absolutely, that is the plan of this program. Once it is established and we start getting the repayments of the loans in, it is the goal for that funding to fund the entire program as a whole, from the actual loan amounts themselves to the salaries of the positions managing the program.
Thank you, Chair. Assemblymember Mosca?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this great summary. My question was around the position reclassifications, and so I wanted to know what were the current challenges being experienced by the deputy administrator position in the classified service of the state, and how would converting that position to unclassified help out?
Thank you for your question, Jared Franco, for the record. I will pass that to our Deputy Administrator, Sharon Luce, to further answer that question, ma'am.
Chair, if I may.
Please, Ms. Luce, go ahead.
Sharon Luce for the record. So currently as the deputy administrator, prior to me assuming this role in the last biennium, there was a asterisk put on this position that it was intended to convert to an unclassified position. The reasoning for that conversion is, emergencies and disasters are on a 24/7 cycle. We never know when they may occur. And the administrator, as it is challenged as the only unclassified position with being able to coordinate within that emergency management policy group amongst the other state agency coordinators and the Office of the Governor, while also providing the direction and oversight to our team members in the event of an emergency or a disaster. And that's where my role as the deputy comes in, with being able to be available to give and translate the strategic guidance and objectives that we're getting from that policy coordination down to the staff that are operating the Emergency Operations Center. And then even during the day-to-day when we're not operating under an emergency, it is challenging for the administrator. As we know, there's a lot of things that are happening on the federal level that affect our programs and the delivery of our operations and our fiscal responsibility and our budget management. And so the administrator is in need of being able to delegate and continue covering all the things that we need to cover administratively to make sure that our division is able to adapt and continue. With me being classified in this position, that means, I add an additional layer of financial burden if I'm to, request overtime, whether it's through ACT, the accrued overtime, the comp time, or paid overtime during those emergency crisis situations where we have, short turnarounds on deadlines and things like that to get information in. And so this would assist in lowering those requests for overtime while giving the flexibility to assist the administrator in all the things that we need to do to continue operating, whether it's day to day or during an emergency.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do and that the division does. Thank you, Chair.
Any more questions on that budget, the first one? 3673, no, so we'll go on to questions on budget 3675, and we'll start with Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For a minute there, my mic went off, and I thought, oh no, but it came back on, so we're good. So hold our fingers crossed. Thank you for being here today, and I'm still trying to get my head around now moving this department because I was part of this when we moved it the first time, and so now we're moving it a second time, and there's another move happening here, and so can you kind of give me on this 3675 budget, the transfer of the analyst supervisor, the NAIC manager, and how would that improve the operations of the Nevada Threat Analysis Center? Because this has been moved now also.
Yes, ma'am. Jared Franco for the record. Thank you for the question, Senator. The supervisor for INTAC currently works for INTAC, is supervised by DPS's director, but is paid for out of DEM's budget, 3675, salaries, operation costs. We have to approve his timesheet still. So this transfer will actually put him in the correct budget account with his agency so that he can be properly supervised and accounted for by DPS.
Follow-up, Madam Chair? So just looking at the discussion on what this person does, I mean, it's a supervisor role / manager role. Do they have anybody they manage or supervise?
Jared Franco for the record. Thank you for your question, Senator. So they do supervise members of the Nevada Threat Analysis Center. Believe they have other analysts, but I'll pass that the rest of the question on to our deputy administrator because I'm not sure how their org chart actually works over there.
Go ahead, Administrator Luce. Thank you.
Sharon Luce for the record. So yes, the current supervisor manager of the Nevada Threat Analysis Center does supervise members of the Department of Public Safety, and that's where it gets challenging. It's odd being from a completely different division under the Office of the Military, being directly responsible and supervising the workload of analysts from another department.
Right.
And so it just makes more sense to put this position back under Department of Public Safety so that also his own supervisor, which is the director of the INTAC, is able to have the oversight over him.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification because it seems to me like he or she was out there kind of hanging in two different divisions. So this helps bring some clarity to that position. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions on our second budget, 3675? Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation, Ms. Luce. Thank you. Thank you, CFO Franco. We appreciate it. We would go on to our third budget, Office of the Military. And coming before us, we have Brigadier General Dan Waters. General, welcome. Please begin when you're ready, sir.
Good morning, members of the combined committee. I am Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, WATERS, for the record. Thank you for having us here today. It is a great opportunity to get in front of our elected representatives and make sure they know exactly what's going on in the Office of the Military and the direction that we're headed. I would say the Office of the Military is conducted with the Office of the Adjutant General, myself, Chief Peters, and Chief Warrant Officer Steve Nielsen. Then the Army component, which is led by Brigadier General Lau and Sergeant Major Johnson. Then the Air component, which is led by Brigadier General Chauvin and Chief Master Sergeant Thompson. The Joint Staff, which is led by Colonel, soon-to-be Brigadier General Serfolio and Sergeant Major Franco. And then the Division of Emergency Management, led by Administrator Compston. Right now, just to let you know, some of the things that are going on just since I've been the Adjutant General since early November. And I am, I would say, I'll just let you know, I'm very honored to be the Adjutant General of the great state of Nevada. And I was privileged to work with General Berry for 4 years as his Chief of Staff and then his Director of the Joint Staff. And that legacy of excellence continues to this day. So since November, we've had 2 C-130s support the LA fires. We supported the Las Vegas New Year's Eve effort with a security team, the Las Vegas Formula One Grand Prix with a security team, and we provided a C-130 to Antarctica supporting the National Science Foundation. Another state, unfortunately, their C-130s were inoperative, and so the Nevada National Guard very quickly, the 152nd Air Wing, very quickly, within a few weeks, flew to Antarctica to continue that mission, and that is a great opportunity to make sure that the North and South Poles are secured. Some of the things we've done, Project Convergence Capstone 5. Just to let you know, that was recently done at the National Training Center. It was a Compo 1 active duty, Compo 2 National Guard, and Compo 3 Army Reserve mission that specifically works the Army's modernization effort. Our 422nd, our Nevada National Guard 422nd Signal Battalion was the only National Guard element involved in that experiment. They were invited, and now they've been invited to go back next year for the outstanding work that they've done. So it's like I said, it's a very big privilege. Currently have the 17th Sustainment Brigade with 250 people over in the CENTCOM AOR that's in the Middle East. The 3665 Emergency or Explosive Ordnance Disposal Detachment just left 2 weeks ago for the Middle East, and they'll be there for a year. And then we have 3 teams in Fiji, Tonga, and Samoa right now conducting non-commissioned officer professional development in the Blue Pacific, and that is through our state partnership program. Next slide, please. So our mission, just to let you know up front, I see the Nevada National Guard as a family. It's inclusive of our soldiers, airmen, families, and veterans. And I work very closely with Colonel Devine, who will present here in a few minutes. She and I have worked together for the last 30 years, and we continue to work together to this day to ensure we're supporting the entire Guard family and the veterans of the state. The vision, we're a people-centric force. We're a human business. There's no doubt about it. And why I tell you that, things go wrong in the human business, in the human endeavor. And so we continue to strive to make sure we're doing the right things by our values of the Nevada National Guard, by the values of the Army and the Air Force, and focused exactly where we need to be supporting the state of Nevada. Next slide. On this slide, very quickly, really covers the 14 facilities the Nevada National Guard has throughout the state. What I will point out to you specifically, in the lower right corner, you'll see Nellis Air Force Base. And the second bullet is a small arms range. Just to keep you informed, approximately 2 weeks ago, we were told by the Department of the Army that the safety designation zone for ranges, that's the safety area that we can actually fire weapons, was changing and becoming broader. Unfortunately, that range then became untenable, and working through the governor's office, we have redirected the funding that was scheduled to go to that smaller range to a CH-47 hangar that will be out at Stead. The other highlight I'll give you is the centerpiece of the state, Hawthorne Army Depot. The Nevada National Guard, we do not have our own range. So the southern range was important to us, no doubt about it. But with that regulation change, we couldn't do it, and it wasn't a good investment for us. So what we've done is we're working with the federal entities, specifically the Department of the Army $18 million has been invested and secured through our federal congressional delegation, and that range will be go live, I should say, operationally effective in 2 years. And so the Nevada National Guard, we won't have to travel to California, Idaho, or Utah. We'll actually be able to do qualification here in the state, working on a federal installation, but with a range that the Nevada National Guard will specifically own and operate. Next slide, please. Now, this is a good news story on this one before we push off to the budget. Let you know. I'll start in the lower left-hand corner, our potential growth, youth programs. So we've got our Battleborn Youth Challenge Academy out at Carlin. That is a big win for the state of Nevada. Over 200 graduates so far, and it's only been in existence for 2 years, and we have 33 cadets in the program right now, scheduled to graduate in January. Our 2 star-based programs, and if you're not familiar with our star-based programs, these specifically focus on 5th graders and keeping them interested in school through the application, the touch points of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and arts. I have 2 incredible directors. One program is in Henderson, Starbase Henderson, and one program is, and I should say that program down in Henderson is sponsored by the 72nd Military Police. And then we have a program up north at the Reno Airport sponsored by the 152nd Air Wing, and that is Starbase High Sierra. Both programs doing amazing work, over 2,000 graduates in under 2 years in those programs. And just to let you know, unfortunately, with the continuing resolution, the first 6 months, Starbase nationally was underfunded by 2/3. The state of Nevada, the governor's office, stood up and said, not in our state, and dedicated the funds, when federal funds weren't available, dedicated funds to continue that program throughout the year. Good news story, with the CR that just recently took effect, Starbase and Youth Challenge were both 100% funded. So that's a good news story. But overall, what it talks about is the values of Nevada, that we're dedicated to education. And even though the federal government may not have the funding, that in the state, we'll make sure we take care of our kids. And so that's a fantastic thing. The state partnership program, as I talked about, Samoa, Tonga, and Fiji, we probably average around 30 engagements a year. And whether that be non-commissioned officer professional development or corrections reforms, specifically in Samoa, or our other military development operations with Fiji and Tonga, that is a big piece of the Indo-Pacific and the Army Pacific Plan and the Air Force Pacific Plan to make sure that we have those partnerships for air basing and overflight. And if things ever do go wrong, that we actually have those rights, and we're working with those partners and allies throughout that region and continuing to move forward. Gray Eagle, the last bullet on that side. This is an emerging possibility for the Nevada National Guard. Just within the last 2 days, I was told that Gray Eagle is a unmanned aerial system, and the Nevada National Guard has tentatively been picked for that program. We're very fortunate. We're working with Nellis Air Station, and possibly to have those aircraft stationed on Nellis. So at a very low cost to the federal government and no cost to Nevada National Guard, we can very quickly field that asset, begin training, and have that operational capability within the next 2 to 3 years. On the lower right, just to highlight, the Nevada National Guard, both Army and Air, our recruiting, our medical readiness, and our retention constantly within the top 5 nationwide. And that's a reflection of our command teams and our recruiting teams, the dedication that they provide our soldiers and airmen to make sure that we have the Nevada National Guard providing Nevada that support for not only state emergencies, but any war fight or any operational contingencies that become possible. With that, I will turn it over to Ms. Cheryl Tyler and speak specifically on the budget side.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. I'm Cheryl Tyler, ASO 4 for Office of the Military. Last name Tyler, Tyler. So on top of the federal funds we receive within our budget accounts, Nevada Army National Guard receives close to $107 million in federal funds for the operation of the Nevada Army National Guard, while Nevada Air National Guard receives approximately $75 million. Office of the Military State employees provide administrative, accounting, personnel, firefighting, security, range operations, family services programs assistance, environmental project management, psychological health services, cyber, operating and maintenance services for all our National Guard facilities assigned to Office of the Military. The agency also has 3 youth programs under the National Guard Bureau: Battleborn Youth Challenge in Carlin, Starbase High Sierra in Reno, and Starbase Henderson in Southern Nevada. A master cooperative agreement is established between the National Guard Bureau and the state of Nevada through Office of the Military. The MCA includes all terms and conditions related to the NGB's federal funds contribution for the operation and training of the Nevada Army and Air National Guard. There are currently 18 agreements as shown in this slide, of which 14 are 100% federally reimbursed. Budget account 3650 funds are utilized for the operation and maintenance of all Nevada Army and Air National Guard facilities throughout the state, the operation of various programs within the organization, which includes our youth programs. Next, we'll go through some of our major enhancement units under BA 3650. First is E300, requests authority to hire 7 additional firefighters at the Reno Air Base to meet minimum staffing requirement for emergency response. The National Guard Bureau readjusted the Nevada National Guard's authorized number of personnel based on the Air National Guard manpower standard for fire emergency services to ensure a sufficient manpower level is associated with the organization. E301 requests funds to hire a Supply Tech 2 and a Maintenance Repair Specialist 1 position for the Nevada National Guard Air Base. These positions will enable our organization to meet inventory management and property control requirements and enhance facilities maintenance. E302 requests for a psychological health clinical manager and a psychological health therapist position to enhance mental support for our organization. The Nevada National Guard is committed to the well-being of its members, providing essential services and support to ensure the mental health and resilience of our members. These therapists will bring specialized expertise, diverse perspectives, and a deep understanding of the unique challenges faced by the National Guard members and their families. E305 requests for an Environmental Scientist 2 position at the Reno Air Base to ensure compliance with regulations and policies. The Environmental Scientist 2 position will review all state and federal Department of Defense and Air Force environmental regulations and ensure the agency stays in compliance. E307 requests for the operating costs and for additional staff at our Washoe County Armory. The Washoe County Armory is expanding by 59,650 square feet. It will be essential to ensure the newly expanded facility is maintained effectively and efficiently. To support this growth, additional operating, maintenance, and utility costs are being requested. E308 requests funds for the personnel cost of an existing IT Professional 2 position. Due to federal funds decrease, an existing IT 2 position, which was historically 100% federal reimbursed, is at risk of being laid off if the budget pattern is sustained. This position is essential in the Nevada National Guard's organization's distributive learning program. This position supervises 3 IT staff and 4 classrooms throughout the state. These classrooms are utilized by the Nevada National Guard for all types of tests and trainings to ensure the readiness of our soldiers. This position is also responsible for maintaining the network, computers, and audiovisual equipment within all those classrooms. Next is a budget reduction E600. This decision unit requests to temporarily eliminate 11 vacant positions in the Battle-Born Youth Challenge Academy program to meet agency request limit. These positions consist of 6 cadre team leaders, 4 food services positions, and a deputy administrator in the fiscal year 2026, and adding back 2 cadre team leader positions in fiscal year 2027 in anticipation of a higher class in 2027. Next slides are some of our one-shot appropriations. E720 is a decision unit to request funds for the purchase of new facilities maintenance equipment. This equipment will be utilized to perform preventive maintenance on building systems. Having the correct tools and equipment to perform preventive maintenance on building assets is paramount. Performing preventive maintenance on state assets will reduce catastrophic failure, increase energy efficiency, and prolong the useful life expectancy of buildings and their assets. E730 requests funds for maintenance facilities projects for the National Guard facilities throughout the state. This decision unit funds minor building renovations, repairs, maintenance, preventive maintenance, and building asset replacements on Office of the Military Nevada National Guard facilities throughout the state. Lastly is E888, which is a requesting funds to pay out the federal obligation for the Carlin Readiness Center. The lack of military units at the facility mandates the termination of the 25-year federal-state agreement, which necessitates the payout of the remaining federal obligation. That concludes our presentation. We're available to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, General, and thank you, Ms. Tyler. We do have some questions on this budget, and so we're going to start with Assemblymember Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. My first question has to do with slide 12. And so it has to do with the psychological health clinical manager positions, and really appreciate the awareness of how important the mental health is. It looks like the establishment of that position would improve the Office of the Military's ability. How? If you could expand a little bit more on that, and if that's just for members or it's also for their families.
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. That is for the entire Nevada National Guard family. So, but to give you some information, I think this has been recognized as an issue in the Department of Defense for the last almost 25 years. And I would call it mental readiness. There's a stigma, there's no doubt about it, within the military, and we're getting over that. But it takes a long time. It takes generations to get over that. And providing that net or that network of providers to give that support to our people and their families, because there's no doubt, to your point, Assemblywoman Anderson, that it's not just the service member who's going to realize stress. It's family members also. And so opening that door, so not only from the federal side do we have a safety net, but from the state side, and then public-private partnerships. And again, working with Colonel Devine and her team on what we can do and the services we can provide and continue to expand that. I would love to say, frankly, I'd love to tell you that we've solved the problem, that we have the answer. That's not factual. So we continue to provide support where we can and enhance it where we can, and this is one of the ways that we believe we can enhance those support services.
Thank you. May I have a follow-up? Thank you, Chair. So I really appreciate, because your voice, I can tell this is something that's very important to the entire family. But I'm just trying to figure out, because with some of our background information, it looks like there's a current 4-week wait time. And it sounds like the low-risk service members, those appointments take a little bit more time. But does that also happen with the family members who, as my colleague to the left of me was just when you were talking about the individuals who are gone for 6 months, but their families are not. Are they also on that 4-week wait time, or is that how would the recommended psychological health clinical manager positions, as well as the the other additions, if we're able to approve it, how would that help with that 4-week wait time?
Thank you for the question, Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. Increasing that network. And that's where I added not only the things that we're doing in the state side, because the federal side, the funding is basically the limiting factor there. The money is set. So what additional capabilities, what additional opportunities or services could we provide to the state or from the state, and then through those public-private partnerships? That's where we actually start diminishing that 4-week. And I would say that's a worst-case scenario. But I don't want to sit here and tell you that my providers have an easy day. I have some carrying 80, 90 caseloads type thing. But providing that service is a responsibility from the Nevada National Guard, and we take that seriously. And so let's say this funding didn't come through. We still have the capability to do and provide services, but it wouldn't be as effective. And that's where we want to bring down that timeline. And so to your point, when service members are deployed, everything's taken care of. There was one point in a 10-year period, I was gone 6 years. The food, housing, medical care, I was taken care of. To your point, Assemblywoman, you're exactly right. It's the families that are back here. And the National Guard, I don't have a base. I don't have a hospital somewhere like a Nellis or a Fallon that provides services to active duty service members. It's the community. It's the state of Nevada that provides that support to our service members, our National Guard members. And so that's why this is so critical.
Greatly appreciate that. And I think I just have, thank you. So I really do appreciate you considering the family, because I do know that there's, I've had students whose parents have been deployed, and the mental health is incredibly important for them. So sometimes that 4-week wait period is very difficult. So thank you for making sure about that. And then my last one actually has to do with learning more than anything else. So what a surprise. The Department of Defense funding for the Army Distributive Learning Program seems to be steadily decreasing. Do you anticipate that you'll need additional funds to be able to possibly support those remaining 2 positions?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. I'll just be frank with you. I think as the Department of Defense looks at changes in the near future, depending on the strategy that we go with at the national level and the new national security strategy and then the national defense strategy and the national military strategy that we anticipate will be published in the probably within the next year and a half, there will be significant degradation in the budgets of the Army. The Army, it will be a bill payer for the Navy and the Air Force. So yes, I would see any program that is potentially funded specifically from the Army could potentially be affected. I can't tell you that's going to happen with no doubt, but I can reading the tea leaves, I definitely think that there is risk there to Army programs, I should say, that are funded by the Army. So yes, could 2 years from now I could come back and say, hey, the budget situation has changed, I need additional funds? I don't want to steer you away from that. That is definitely a possibility that could happen.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Senator Tice?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being here. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I have a couple questions, but they're quick. You mentioned the range, the $18 million going to the Hawthorne. That's in my district. I drive by that ammunition depot, and I'm just wondering, what did you mean by that?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. What we've done is a partnership with Hawthorne Army Depot, and they have existing ranges they're called the Liberty Ranges. They're on the far north end of Hawthorne. What we've done is partnered with the Department of the Army through a commitment through the Chief of Staff of the Army to invest $18 million of federal funds specifically for a small arms qualification range at the existing site. Okay. So what I'm telling you is the members of the Nevada National Guard will be qualified in-state, and that's not a post-mobilization requirement. I can actually get that training done while we're here.
Great. And just another quick question, Madam Chair. So you also mentioned that you had sent one of the C-130s up to Antarctica, or down to Antarctica. And I'm curious about the billing for that, and how does that work? We had another state agency do these MOUs and send our folks different places and then never bill for that. How does the state of Nevada, how do you get reimbursed for that?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. This is actually a good news story. The federal government actually gave us a line of accounting, and they paid for it directly. Now, what sounds...
Well, I'm going to interrupt you just
Yes,
because
ma'am.
it's kind of a yes or no. We're moving on here. But did you have to bill for that, or did the federal government do that? I mean, just wondering the process.
Because, Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record, because it is a federal mission, a national mission, the actual funding source, the funding code, came with the mission requirement. We didn't even have to ask.
Excellent. Thank you. That's what I needed to know. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Assembly Member, who do I have next? It's Dickman.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks for being here. It's good to see you, General. My question is about the Battleborn Youth Challenge Program. An awesome program, but it looks like in our information that as the reports are coming in, enrollment is falling. And so I was wondering if you could talk about your efforts to increase student enrollment, because we really need to keep that program.
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record, thank you for that question, and you're exactly right. Just from last week to this week, we lost 7 cadets. Now, what we had a family day, and a family member decided to bring in marijuana and gave it to one of the students, who then shared it with other students. That's not tolerable at the Youth Challenge Academy. And so 7 students gone. The families have been contacted, notified what's going on. The students are being picked up, but that's the type of thing that can affect us. But I don't want to make it sound like that family engagement. I don't want to vilify that. That is a key piece to our cadets retaining that linkage to their families and their communities, because this is a high school recovery program. Ultimately, they're going back to their old high schools. They're back to their old neighborhoods. And what we want to do is instill in them the values that may be challenged when they go back to their neighborhoods. And that's hard to do. But we're dedicated to doing it. And so to answer the second part of your question, the limiting factor we have right now isn't the state of Nevada to the number of students I can put in. It's the federal piece. The federal funding that comes in, that limits how many students I can get in. And so right now we're limited between 50 to 55 depending on the funding fluctuation that comes in. And so as we've talked about, any disciplinary action, anything that happens like that, a cadet that doesn't finish the program, right away, that skyrockets our cost per student at the national level. But we've done some good things. As I think as the committee members know, just until recently, we actually used state active duty funds. We used soldiers and airmen to go augment the staff, whether that was part of the cadre staff, the medical staff, or frankly, the education staff. Just to let you know, we are very fortunate with the folks we have out there. Just amazing people dedicated to changing the lives of young people. But this semester, the first one we've had, the state of Nevada, all state of Nevada employees are leading that program. So that's how we continue to move forward. So try to reduce the cost, because a soldier, an airman on state active duty is much more expensive than a staff member is. So changing that and making sure we continue that move, that's important for us. I would say before the end of this session, by June, we're actually doing our biannual investigation. I should say, not investigation, but our look at our program from the federal level. They come out and they look at the program. And so I will share the results with the members of the legislature, both the Assembly and the Senate, when we get that information in. And so you'll be able to see exactly what's going on in the program.
So is there any kind of a wait list to get into the program?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record, there is a waiting list, and there's a waiting list not only for our Youth Challenge Academy, but again, we're limited by the federal budget. There's a waiting list for our Starbase academies. I have 18-month waiting lists for schools trying to get into my Starbase.
Okay, thank you so much.
So to your point, Assemblyman, there is a need. There's a need in the state for these, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thanks, Chair.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Assembly Member. I do have, and General, thank you for the presentation. Excuse me. Thank you for the presentation, General. It's good to see you again, and your passion still remains right there for it. I have several questions, and so we do have a few other questions after me and a couple more budgets. So I'm going to ask you to focus in on your responses because you can talk all morning about this stuff. I already know that, right? But we don't have all morning. All right. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. And thank you, Assemblymember. My colleague at the end of the table started talking about the Youth Challenge Program. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Most of my questions will center around that. How do you determine the number of staff that's needed for that program?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. And very quickly, that word I was looking for earlier, it's our biennial audit. So, to your question, Madam Chair, that's actually determined by the federal budget. That drives how many cadre members we can have, and that also drives how many students we can have. It's just a very simple funding equation that comes from the Department of Defense.
Okay. Following up on that, then I see if in the governor's recommended budget, there's a recommendation for a reduced number in staff, but we know that the agency projects an increase in the number of students. Can you kind of talk us through that a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. I'll turn that over to Ms. Tyler on the budget piece. But specifically, what we're looking at is if we can increase the federal budget, and the federal budget, obviously coming from the congressional delegation, and Nevada's congressional delegation is very supportive of the program. If we can increase that, working through with the Department of Defense, the Undersecretary of Defense that actually runs this program, Mr. O'Toole at the national level, that's how we ultimately increase the number of students throughput. The reduction we have right now, and Ms. Sherrill can correct me if I'm wrong, but the reduction we have is based on the federal budget. Those are positions that we can't use right now because they're not federally funded. So I'm not actually reducing the number of people boots on the ground. I'm reducing the number of positions that aren't funded.
Okay, that makes sense, General. Thank you so much. Will you talk a little bit about why the National Guard Bureau federally, right, limited the 2025 funding for the Youth Challenge Program?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. Now, I just want to be clear, the National Guard Bureau did not do that. That actually came out of Congress. The budget, the continuing resolution, that was the budget that actually was produced from Congress. Now, to your point, I definitely think within the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, within the Office of Youth Programs, the understanding that the budget was short should have been maybe identified a little earlier, and so I'm working with Mr. O'Toole to ensure we don't get a week's notice next time, and we get a little more heads up.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Good to be on top of that because that's not good when we lose money, right? Can you confirm though, and that we've received some confirmation of the federal funding that for the bureau will increase in this next biennium?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. The funding lines have not been released from Congress. That said, working with our congressional delegation, they have, and our communications, I'm definitely confident to sit in front of you right now and say for the remainder of this fiscal year, youth programs are completely funded in Youth Challenge and in Starbase.
Okay, and then would that allow you then to fill the positions that I think there were 7 positions. I'm looking at my background information here. There are 7 positions that are being held vacant because of limited. Should that money come in, will that provide the resources that we need to fill those positions?
Yeah, Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. No, ma'am, those are something totally separate. So when I say fully funded, it's funded for the level that we have right now, 50 to 55 students. For us to go above that level, the national budget would have to be increased, and that's where I'm actually working also with the congressional delegation because they recognize that Nevada has that need. Mm-hmm. And so if we can get that increased, overall, it just won't be specifically earmarked for Nevada. It would be an increase for all youth programs across the country. Nevada would be able to take an opportunity for that.
Jump in that as well. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna go back to this. Might be a question for Ms. Tyler, General. Ms. Tyler, you mentioned you were talking about this is a decision unit E600. I'm looking at that slide. And you talked that there would be the removal of 11 vacant positions, and you listed them, and then saying that then you bring 2 of those back. I just want to make it clear that once positions are eliminated, there's no temporary elimination. There's no so if once they're out of the budget, they're out. And so then if you'd like 2 more, if you'd like to bring 2 back, quote unquote, that would have to be another request.
Cheryl Cheryl Tyler for the record. Yes, ma'am. We are aware that that's the case. Actually, the 2 cadre positions are already in state fiscal year 27 as positions there. So really the cadres will be removed 6 in fiscal year 26, but in fiscal year 27, it's only 4.
Okay, it's already in the budget. Thank you so much. Any
Yes,
other
ma'am.
questions for the general? Assemblymember Anderson?
Thank you, Chair. So I was looking through the PowerPoint again and looking at almost one of the last slides. It was decision E888. And it says the decision unit requests funds to pay out the federal obligation for the Carlin Readiness Center. Does that mean that center's, I feel like I'm channeling former Senator Gokuchi on this one, but does that mean that the Carlin Center will be closed, or what does that mean exactly?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. Just to be clear, there is a small federal building on the Carlin Academy, or on the installation. And so what would be, the state of Nevada is going to purchase that federal facility, so then it is every building on that campus then becomes available to the Youth Challenge Academy. So when we do actually get the increased budget, we have more room for students, more classroom space, more administrative space. And it's a location, a facility that I don't use right now federally.
Thank you for that clarification, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I just want to go back to I love the youth programs. Very familiar with Starbase and with the Youth Challenge program. So I want to be clear. So basically, at this point, your understanding is that the Starbase program will not be unfunded. Did I get that correct?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. Yes, ma'am. And so we have the money for the second half of this fiscal year, 100% of the required funds to maintain our doors open. To keep our doors open, that money will come on the federal side. So ultimately, the state ended up paying in the first biennium, ended up paying for about 3 months, worth of 3 to 4 months of the program.
Any indication of what may happen after this, the second half of this fiscal year?
Dan Waters, the Adjutant General, for the record. Yeah, you're putting me definitely on a spot there, ma'am. I think it's my responsibility to be frank with the members of the committee. I don't know what the taste is of the Department of Defense for youth programs. When we specifically focus on lethality and mission readiness, I don't know specifically where youth programs would fit into that. That said, I think it would be, because it is such a popular program, both, and I say youth programs, so Youth Challenge and Starbase, I think that would be a big fight on Capitol Hill to reduce that. But I will work with you. If I hear anything, I will make sure members of this committee and other members of the Nevada Legislature know exactly what's going on, because this is a critical piece to Nevada. There's no doubt about it. I'd love to sit here and tell you, oh, ma'am, there's nothing. We don't have anything to worry about. I'm worried. I'm concerned. I'll put it that way.
I appreciate your candor, General. I think those are all the questions for Budget 3650. Seeing none others, thank you, Ms. Tyler, and thank you, General. Again, good to see you again, and we appreciate the presentation and the passion. Not quite match General Barry's passion, but close. But close. Thank you for the reminder. All right, we're going to transition financial staff a little bit as we get into position. Colonel Devine, we have 3 budgets. 3 budgets. I know you're ready to go. We're going to go over budgets 101, 2560, 2561, and 2569. So just give a moment for staff to settle in, and then, Colonel, you can begin when you're ready. You're good? Please, ma'am, go right ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Mary Devine, for the record, D-E-V-I-N-E. Thank you so much for this opportunity to meet with the committee. We're very excited to be here and go over our budget enhancements that support the mission of the Department of Veteran Services. We've got a lot of exciting things to put in front of you today. It won't take a lot of time to go over things that we talked about in previous meetings. However, I do want to go to the next slide and talk a little bit about our mission. We are very excited to serve the veterans of Nevada. There are 275,000 or 217,000 veterans across Nevada. They live in all corners of our state, and they have a very important mission and are very concerned right now about a lot of things and about their benefits. And we are fielding a lot of calls right now about benefits and about different changes and things that are going on within. I just right off the front, they are very concerned about what's going on with benefits right now. So you'll hear through our presentation what we're doing to make sure that we're reaching out to our communities, making sure that we are there for our teams, for the veterans, for their families, to make sure that our veteran service officers, our outreach events, and everything that we're doing provides as much information as possible to our veterans. And we are communicating with our federal partners on a weekly basis and as frequently as we possibly can to make sure that we're in tune with what's going on a national front. The NDVS team from here will provide you with a lot of information in detail about our individual budget enhancements, and we're very excited to have our partners from Adoptive Vet Dental with us today, just in case you might have some questions about that program as well. I hit my 1-year anniversary as a Director of Veteran Services just recently. What an amazing opportunity. I am so honored to have served also with General Barry and with General Waters for a very significant portion of my career. But stepping from the Nevada Military Department and over to the Department of Veteran Services was one of the best decisions I've ever made. The ability to honor our veterans and see what we do in our homes and with our veteran service officers, all the way through the honors that we pay to our veterans and their families in our cemeteries, has been remarkable and very impactful in my life. So with that, I will turn over the briefing to Joe Thiele, our Executive Officer, and he will take it from here.
Joe Thiele, for the record, Executive Officer, NDVS. The first budget account is 2560. The mission is to assist veteran service members and their families to prepare to submit claims for benefits, provide dignified burial support, and help veterans successfully integrate into Nevada communities. The enhancement categories we're going to talk about are staffing and operations, FRN opioid grant award through the Department of Health and Human Services, equipment replacement, new equipment, and travel. The first enhancement is E683, would be for a veteran service officer in Henderson, and the veteran service officers, as I know you are aware, are connecting our eligible veterans with getting all the benefits they have earned and deserve, and to help their families as well. E685 is for a management analyst for our fiscal division. This position will enhance the department's ability to secure and manage additional funding through grant opportunities, enabling the department to execute projects and programs aligned with its mission. As we've grown, we came last time and we were added to our programs and our VSOs. We need to add to our infrastructure to back that up as well. So the next one is E710. It's replacement equipment based on the equipment schedule. There are 17 desktop computers, 7 laptop computers, 3 printers, 3 Ethernet switches, Adobe Acrobat Pro licensing, 25 of those, 24 desktop scanners, 5 IP phones, 23 Surface Pros with monitors and PIV cards that would be used by our VSOs to give those veteran service officers the best opportunity to get the claims out in as fast as possible when they're going out and meeting with these eligible veterans. 3 credit card machines and 3 Livino subscription and MS Team licensing for conferencing systems. E140 is Stormwind training, and what that is a chance for our IT professionals to stay up to date on actually what's going on out there, the latest software, the latest trends, security. They will have hands-on to not only live instructors, but video recordings of all those type of trainings, and they can access it multiple times as they need to. E260 is annual training for veteran service officers, and this is going to ensure that our veteran service officers receive regular training on the federal regulations and veterans requests, best practices, the changes that come down from the Veterans Administration, and the processes and procedures involved with that. E262 is the opioid grant award from Health Division at $700,000 each year, and it's outreach and services to veterans in need of opioid and substance treatment. E300 is travel for the Veterans Services Commission, as they are required to have quarterly meetings, and this is to make sure that we can cover their cost in traveling across the state. E720, this is, I apologize, the number there, this is for the mobility and security e-software. What this does is it's a management software that allows for devices like laptops that they can be secured, they could be wiped if need be, so that all information is protected. Our one-shot enhancements, E712, are 2 club carts for the Southern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery. E715 is a mower for the same cemetery. E716 is a work truck. E717 is a Gravemaster dump truck for our Northern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery. And E727 is a security system replacement at the Southern Cemetery. Going on with one-shots, E721 is a video conference system. We moved into the new McCarran complex down south, and this would get that office online with the rest of our offices having the same equipment. We don't have any technical issues going back and forth compatibility problems. E728 is a track skid steer for landscaping and grading, and that would be at the Northern Cemetery. And it's for moving materials, decomposed granite, gravel, lifting trees, street sweeping, site preparation, etc. And that's it for 2560. Would you like to do questions now or continue?
No, we'll go through all 3 of these and
Okay.
then do questions, and thank you.
Our next budget account is 2561, and this is our Southern Nevada State Veterans Home. They provide 24-hour care in a 180-bed skilled nursing facility for eligible veterans, spouses, and veterans of and parents, Gold Star parents. The major enhancements are staffing and operations, maintenance of buildings and grounds, equipment replacement, and new equipment. The first enhancement unit is E681, is a Management Analyst 3. This decision unit would fund the authority to continue this position that was approved through the Interim Finance Committee in fiscal year 25, and that would continue through 26-27. E683 is a personnel analyst. This position would be the HR professional physically located in our southern headquarters, which we mentioned, the McCarran complex, a liaison between the south and the NDVS HR office in the north. This is a personal generalist, and it will be available for face-to-face interactions with employees to provide guidance, counseling, interpret and explain state and federal policies and procedures, rules, and really to understand the CBA and the complex workings of that CBA. E732 and E733. Both are deal with kitchen fire sprinkler and suppression equipment that has outlived its useful life. E734, abatement of sidewalk tripping hazards. We've got some sidewalks that are lifting here and there and need to be addressed. 26 of them have been identified. And then the E730 is a automatic door pivot that has failed, or failing, I should say. E731 is the nurse call system. This is upgrades to the nurse call system and to mainnet infrastructure. E710, again, is a replacement equipment per the OCIO schedule for desktop, laptops, printers, switches, power supplies. The E712 is resident televisions that have to be compatible with the nurse call system. The nurse call system is also the remote for the TVs, all in one. And then they're replaced as needed. And then, of course, mattresses as they wear out. E714 is for 2 high-back wheelchairs used for residents with extreme difficulty used in extreme difficulties using a standard wheelchair and require additional support. E715 is an ice machine, and E716 is a food processor because we have some swallowing issues for some veterans that need to have food blended. Exciting, I know that E17 and 18, batteries, okay? We need them. This is for the maxi move lifts and the resident stand lifts, and they are starting to fail. I wish I had something more exciting there for you, but E720 is for new equipment. It is for new IT equipment. We're looking at 3 laptops for clinical administrative assistants to be able to do data entry instead of writing and then transferring notes, becoming more efficient. A desktop for our Medicaid specialist that's on site, Wi-Fi access points and switches with licenses, computer peripherals, E721, the Fluke Network cable testing device, fun tools, but tool that's actually necessary for the day-to-day operations for the ID department. Other new equipment is E722 interactive therapy equipment, which is a projector and licensing. The E723 GrandPad subscription and licensing. This equipment and licensing will provide mentally stimulating activities dealing with our memory care residents to assist them. E724 is shower chairs. E725 are vital machines with stands. E726 are for 2 standing lifts, and E27 for 2 body lifts with scales and slings. E728 is a rigid press tool kit, and this will allow the repair of water lines up to 4 inches in diameter and lessen our bills with outside plumbing contracts. E125 is our Crombie Academy, which is where we recruit and train for CNAs. A very critical shortage exists in our state, as I know you are aware, and whatever you can do to help get the interest in our universities there for training and more people in there. I appreciate it. E250, Nevada Healthcare Association and Center Assisted Living Annual Conference Travel. This provides continuing education and dialogue regarding skilled nursing facilities and best practices where your counterparts across the state can all get together and share the best for what's going on, what's going wrong, what can we do, how can we partner. That takes us to budget account 2569, which is the Northern Nevada State Veterans Home, and it's a 24-hour care facility, 96 skilled nursing beds. The enhancement categories are IT, equipment replacement, and new equipment. E711, the equipment replacement would be to replace 36 indoor Wi-Fi access points with 5-year licenses. These devices are at their end of life and will not be supported after October of this year. E720 and E721 are for forklift and shelvings related to the new storage building that's going in at the home. And then the E728 is for 15 iPads that would be used by certified nursing assistants, CNAs, for timely room medical charting for the residents. And that's our budget request.
Pending your questions.
Thank you, Colonel, and thank you, Mr. Thabey. We do have a few questions for the Department of Veteran Services, and we'll start with Senator Wynn.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I guess I'm going to kind of go back to, let's see, I'm gonna always get these numbers thing. The new unclassified program development coordinator position and the budget amendment to revise to a classified veterans service officer position. So that's kind of where I'm going from before. So it looks like the governor's finance office submitted that budget amendment to revise the recommendation to a classified VSO position. So does the department plan to continue to employ a temporary staff position to continue building community partnerships and fundraising? If so, would this be an ongoing expense in the gift account for veterans, that BA 2564 account?
Director Devine, for the record, that would be, the position is actually the management analyst position that we're asking for the authority for. So no, we would not continue that position in the gift account. We would actually continue it in the management analyst position. That's why we're asking for the authority there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, and I think it may answer my second question, so if you just bear with me 1 second. I think that answers the second question that I have as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We'll go to Assemblymember Brown May.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. It's great to see you here. Thank you. Congratulations on your 1 year. Can you believe it's gone that quickly?
Director Devine, no, I cannot. It's been amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have a couple of questions, Chair, if I may. I'm going to go back to the audit that was completed back November 23. GFO did their internal audit and released, right? So they had a number of recommendations. I know that you are staffing the Southern Nevada home, but contracting for the Northern Nevada home, right? Can you talk about how are you ensuring the quality of the service that's being provided through that contractor for our Northern Nevada residents?
Director Devine, for the record, the management controls that we have in place for the Northern Nevada home are very multi-level. We have multiple meetings each week on everything from accounts receivable to how we do admissions to how we have basically infection control, everything that we do with the residents within the Northern Nevada home and what we do in the Southern Nevada home as well. Each of my members to the left and right and Deputy Director McBride is in Las Vegas to answer any additional questions. But really, we ask a lot more questions, a lot more face-to-face contact, a lot more contact with the residents, as well as our staff internally is in the home on a weekly basis. We're there all the time, walking through, meeting with residents, eyes on, we're building relationships, really one-on-one relationships with HDG, making sure that they understand what our expectations are. As well as behind the scenes, we are developing extensive series of management controls to take a look at the financial benchmarks of when should we take a look at should this home become a state entity, so that at some point in the future we have the ability to recommend to this body when should we convert, when will it make sense for us to put those jobs and that additional funding back into Nevada.
Thank you for that clarification. It sounds like you're instituting that age-old business practice, management by walking around. Yes.
It's a must.
Yes,
Thank you.
we
I
are.
appreciate that. Follow-up, Chair. Thank you so much. So understanding that there were some billing things that popped up in the course of the audit, Medicaid, right? There was some fee revenue that we weren't tracking. If this management analyst position is approved, how will that improve the department's financial management?
Director Devine, for the record, the management analyst position will give us additional oversight. Through multiple years, the department VSOs built a lot of frontward-facing positions, but we didn't necessarily talk about what we needed in our backbone for the support of our management controls and the functions that we needed to overwatch financials, overwatch all of our internal programs. So this would allow us the depth in our internal programs to make sure that we are doing more management controls, more audits, more frequently to overwatch the programs that are out there, giving us the ability to, as well, to look at the, like it says in the request, to look at our audit or our grants and the other types of financials that are out there, you know, our public-private partnerships and the other things that are out there. Honestly, our financial team is about 6 people. And the hundreds of millions of dollars that are running through this program and the multitudes of financial systems and things that are happening, that's not a lot of depth. So this will provide us redundancy and another set of eyes all those different types of systems that we're working on.
Thank you for that clarification. I just have one last question. There were a number of recommendations that came out of that October 2024 audit for the Southern Nevada State Veterans Home with regard to Medicaid eligibility, enrollment, billing practices. Have those recommendations been implemented?
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe Thiele, for the record, partially implemented. We're working, we've gone through, we're looking at our admissions down there, making sure that we've added in more explanation of Medicaid, trying to get that started. It was recommended as early as possible. So we were working through those. We've met with the controller's office. We're in the process of turning over the bad debt and going through all that, getting signed up for the proper program and access, et cetera, and redoing that MOU, et cetera. So we're well on the way. And we just for the record, we welcome the audit on both homes. We had asked for that on the north initially, and it's just a valuable tool to be able to work from and go, hey, how can we improve? So it's very thankful for it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for your comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Assembly Member. I'm going to follow up on just a little bit of that, back to the audit, and I really applaud you saying we're going to be open to the audit to see what's going on, how can we fix it, right? Because we're just trying to serve this really important part of our communities, you know that. You talked a little bit about the past debt, and you're kind of working through that and so on, and looking at, what we can collect, what we can't, and so on. What about putting a process together, and this came out of the audit as well, so we can get people signed up for Medicaid and then get the reimbursements that way?
Director Devine, for the record, absolutely. That has come up, and it's not just Medicaid, it's all of the different benefits that may be available to these benefits or to these veterans. Deputy Director McBride and Administrator Jenny Fuller have worked together also with our Deputy Director of Benefits, Ro Ferrer. They've all come together and taken a look at what we can do with those various veterans and put in benchmarks to review their benefits that are available at different times, at admission and different times during their stay in the home, to make sure that they're taking advantage of every benefit that's available to them in the different points that are there. So that's been another very positive byproduct of the audit, is making sure that we're doing that.
I appreciate that, Colonel, and part of it is certainly that's the service for them, but it also reimburses, right? It reimburses the homes.
Exactly.
Right, and that's
exactly.
that can add up. That can be a big number.
And it's important to the families.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to the families. That's not a time when you want a surprise.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. It can help with that. Thank you so much, Colonel. I appreciate it. Chair Watts.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple of questions about the opioid treatment program that would be funded from the opioid settlement funds. So I know that some of the proposals, there's definitely been questions about how it's aligned. I think in this case, the fact that it's going to treatment services definitely has alignment. But could you talk about how these services specifically align with the state's opioid needs assessment and plan?
Director Devine, for the record, I'll take a little bit of that and then I will turn it over to another team member. We are leaning forward and we will be hiring a contract employee to bring on to our team within the next month or so. I'm not exactly sure what day. I know we've put the job ad out. I think it's within the next 30 days. We will bring somebody on to lean forward. So when that money actually does hit in the beginning of the next FY, our program will already be developed. And we are meeting with our community partners to develop these lines of effort to make sure that we are not caught flat-footed when that money hits in July. We've also initiated a needs-based assessment that we are working with initiated the contract last year to actually look and survey the field of what our veterans need in this area. We're working with our community partners, whether that be the VA and other community partners, to make sure that we have looked at this in depth to see how it fits in the veterans community. And then I'll hand it over to Jacob, where he is actually the one that's been having the routine meetings to tell you exactly how that works.
Jacob Clodfelter, Management Analyst, CLODFELTER. We have regular touchpoint meetings both with the Fund for Resilient Nevada team within DHHS as well as with the Opioid Treatment Authority team within DHHS as well to collaborate and ensure that our program both supplements the programs that they have available, but as well as make sure that our program is sufficient to fulfill the needs that exist for the veterans throughout the state. We are currently conducting the interviews to start the Health Program Manager 1, which will be one of the grant-funded positions who will help initiate those relationships both with veteran service organizations throughout the state to provide referrals as well as to continue those touchpoints meetings with team members at DHHS.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it sounds like you've got a great game plan in terms of rolling out the program, conducting outreach, and ensuring that it meets the needs of our veteran community. I think probably we need to follow up with DHHS just to understand how this fits into the much broader statewide plan to utilize the Fund for Resilient Nevada to address the opioid crisis. So I do have a question on that, on the funding side. With all that robust outreach that's already planned, do you have any idea if the $768,000 that's budgeted for treatment services is going to be enough, and what happens if the community needs for treatment exceeds that amount?
Jacob Clodfelter for the record. We have had those discussions with DHHS, with both FRN and the Opioid Treatment Authority to ensure that there are referral opportunities for if the funding is not sufficient for all of our needs, as well as we will be actively reviewing benchmarks for the program as it is implemented in FY26 and 27, and potentially pursue additional grant funding through federal and state grants for other opportunities to provide additional funding to continue the program if the needs exceed the original budgeted value.
Thank you, Chair. I do have one question. We might be towards the end. My colleague from the Senate earlier mentioned the non-executive, the gift account, right? 2564. Which is, I think it's great to have a veterans gift account. How do you decide which programs, which expenses, or whatever that to take out of that account versus what you put in other parts of the budget?
Director Devine, for the record, there are in NRS 417, there are guidelines for what we do with the gift account. We follow those guidelines. Primarily, what I look at with the advice of my team is how does it support the widest number of veterans? And how do we provide direct support to those veterans? In the past, we've used it as, and other directors have provided it as a kind of an incubator for new programs. That's where the LGBTQ program started with. That's where I think our Women Veterans program started, and a couple of others. So they tested it through that program, then they brought those in front of you for full-time manpower, and they moved it across. And we will still continue to use some of those things, but I would like to really move to a point where we use that gift account in support of our veteran service organizations to collaborate and partner and to bring them to the table. As you are aware, all of our veteran service organizations are struggling for membership. They're struggling to get the word out to the veterans of all generations. So the more we can collaborate and come to the table, and we have a voice where we can, as the Department of Veteran Services, collaborate when they have a conference, and we can come to the table and provide some infrastructure to that conference where there's a large gathering of veterans, that would provide much needed support to that when they're bringing 50 to 100 veterans together. So that's what we look at. We look at things that will provide education and fit with our core values of benefits to veterans. So those are, we talk to the VSC, we talk to the ICVA, and that's how we determine where that money goes, as well as grant requests that we get from veteran service organizations.
I see. Thank you. Thank you so much, Colonel. Do we have any other questions? Chair Watts?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to follow up on that because I just pulled up the statute, and it seems like there are actually several different gift accounts in NRS 417. Some related, I think, to the veterans' homes and another, but the main gift account, it looks like, is aimed at, serving, as you noted with like the LGBTQ program. It has to be used for the support of outreach programs or services for veterans and their families, as determined by the director. And I think that's a really worthwhile mission. I think as I looked through some of this, so you mentioned essentially using that gift account to help get a position onboarded for the opioid treatment so that you can hit the ground running on that. I still have I'm going to need some additional clarity on what the plan is with that budget amendment from the original kind of outreach development position that was originally brought forward in the budget. And my understanding is that now we're going to transition to a VSO. But again, that was another position that was being funded out of the gift account. And it looks like there's currently another 8 or so positions that are being funded out of that account. And so I think, we would like a little bit more transparency on the amount of positions that are being funded out of that account. And I guess they're temporary positions. But if there are outreach and services that are being provided by folks that are being funded out of the account, I think we'd like to have a little bit more insight into how that's happening, and if those are going to be ongoing positions, get them rolled into the budget so that one, we have clarity, and two, that we can move temporary contract positions to state positions when possible.
Director Devine, for the record. Have you been sitting in on my staff meetings? Because that's exactly what we've been talking about. We do have a couple. I don't believe that we have the number of 8 staff positions out of the gift account. I do have a tribal representative that is part-time that is paid out of the gift account. I have a VSO that is paid out of the 2 VSOs that are paid out of the gift account, one in Winnemucca and one in Mesquite. I have those. I had the management analyst that we have now transitioned to a state employee, and I believe those are the 4 that we are paying out of there.
The health program manager, which will convert.
Oh, and the health program manager, which is the one that will take over the opioid, which we will convert. So the goal is to do exactly what you're saying. We would do an incubator out of that. We would move them over. But I will say there are some situations where some of our veterans would prefer to be a contract employee because of various reasons. Personal reasons why they may not want to be a state employee, and that having the ability to bring them on as a contracted employee provides us a really great opportunity to leverage their experience and put them to work for our veterans community. So in the future, I would like to be able to bring all of our employees on as, for the most part, within the state system, and have their entire benefit fringe package, training, travel, all of it be paid for through the state system. However, that puts a large burden on the general fund. Until we have those developers and those community impact people on board that can help us develop those public-private partnerships, that goes back to that conversation about we were really focused on growing the outward-facing veteran service officers, and we maybe didn't sit down in front of this body and say, hey, to be able to do community outreach, to do endowments, to do the things that we would like to do to grow those gift accounts, and actually be able to leverage the generosity of our communities in support of our veterans, we're going to need 2 or 3 state employees to do that. That is critically important. Now, the developer position maybe wasn't ready for prime time to sit in front of you and have a fully developed plan, which is one of the reasons why I pulled it back. Will it be in front of you again in 2 years, or maybe in front of you in the interim finance committee? It absolutely will, because that's what we need. There are so many generous people out in our community that want to help our veterans and can help us get to the point where we build those veteran service officers to be able to provide that advice and counsel, the certified veteran service officers, to our veterans to get to their benefits and help them out.
Madam Director, I'm going to say thank you.
Yeah, we need it.
We answered his question, and we
Yes.
just want to get, okay, all right.
Okay.
Go ahead, you want to follow up. Go ahead, Chair.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that, Chair. And I think there's two pieces to this. One is those contract temporary positions, and so I appreciate what you're saying, because I think we feel the same way, that we understand that there needs to be some flexibility, but if folks, we want to get those VSOs to be full VSOs and state positions. And then I think the other piece is around the gift account. It sounds like there are several positions that are being funded out of there. And I know that we do get periodic reports on the expenses. Maybe part of it is just getting a little bit of additional background in addition to those line items on what the programs, initiatives are, and what some of those plans are for that account moving forward. And then potentially we could have staff follow up and work with you to figure out, because I definitely am sensitive to the impact of the general fund. But if some of those positions are being funded out of the gift account, if they're being funded with some of the license plate revenues, there might be some budgetary mechanisms where we can, again, move some of those into the department's overall account and move some of those revenues to support them so that it doesn't have as much of an impact on the general fund. So I think we could just continue that conversation, but appreciate the fact that you're already thinking through and trying to work on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions while we have Director Devine here? Veteran Services? Nope. Okay, we see no other questions. Thank you and your team.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. Okay, that means we're down to our last item on the agenda, which is public comment. If you would like to make public comment here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, please come forward at this time. Okay, seeing none, is there anyone on the phone line, AVH, who would like to make public comment?
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working, but there are no callers to provide public comment at this time.
Oh, if they want to come forward, I can't.
Well, you can invite them to come forward. I think they were waiting for them.
Oh, is Adopt a Vet here and wanting to, public comment, that's your time. So come on up. No, that's okay. Before we dismiss, we do have Adopt a Vet here, and we certainly thank you for being here. Almost missed you.
Good morning. My name is Demi Gonzalez. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Adopt a Vet Dental Program, and Gonzalez, Gonzalez. We are happy to report that we just had our grand opening of the Adopt a Vet Dental Program, a dental clinic, the first in the nation, specifically for veterans. This was a 4-year project that we have been working on, and no state funds were used for this building. All the funds used were given by donations from foundations throughout the state of Nevada. We are so proud of that. We have generous members from foundations that understand the need for dental care for our veterans, but we've partnered up with so many other organizations. To date, Dr. Thacker, who is one of our board members, is also the director for the Advanced Education General Dentistry for the Roseman University Dental Clinics in Las Vegas. We have partnered up with NYU Lagoon to continue that project. So we will be receiving 3 AEGD residents from NYU to come to the state of Nevada to run in our program and to provide dental care to our veterans. The impact that will have on our ability to treat massive amounts of our numbers of veterans who don't qualify for dental care at the VA will be just immense. We have some paperwork that we'd like to present to you after the meeting and just give to you so you can read. And if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to contact us. We have, it's a 10,200 square foot building, and we have the ability to rent some of that space. We understand what it takes to provide funding for this program, and we didn't feel the necessity or even the need to come and ask for any more funding. We take responsibility for the funding that was given to us to provide the dental care that we give. We've built out the clinic so that we can garner revenue to cover a lot of our cost, so that there's no need to come and continue to ask for upgrades or even more money from the state. We took responsibility for that, and we honor any dollar given from the state to produce what we do for our veterans here. We have great numbers. Just in general, the projection for what the AGD students will do for our program is we were able to see 248 patients throughout fiscal year 24. That's patients that need total reconstruction of their mouth. It's very expensive. It's time consuming. For fiscal year 24, our projection, having the residents here, is 6,024 appointments that we'll be able to give just with them being here. The other positive to that is that the state of Nevada pays $0 for those residents. What we did was we created a training program with a training environment within our dental clinic, so that universities that have dental programs can send their residents to our program to get trained on the most updated technology there is out there for dental care. We recently ordered a Matron milling machine from Switzerland, and that money to use to buy that machine was given to us by grants. No state money was used for that. This milling machine enables us to do all of our lab work in-house, so we don't have to use the monies to spend to pay dental labs out in the civilian sector. But not only that, a person can come in and need a three unit bridge and come in and do the prep that same day and leave with that bridge that same day, which is uncommon out in the civilian sector, and we'll be able to do that. But the amount of veterans we'll be able to treat with that new technology is just incredible. Again, as I said, no funding was used from the state to create this dental clinic. And we would love the opportunity to give each and every member here the opportunity to come and get a one-on-one view on what we've been able to create. And so you know where the money's spent. We like to produce tangibles, and those tangibles are the ability for you as the members of this committee to see where the money actually goes to. And we'd love for you to see it in Reno. And that's what I have.
For the record, this is Linda Haig, Haigh, president and founder of Adopt a Vet. It's been 15 years. I've been sitting in front of you guys for about 9 of that. And I'm so happy to tell you, initially we started with 6 dentists. We asked them if they would take care of a veteran. It was overwhelming. Today we have 169 dentists that are volunteering their time and services statewide. So we have been able to help 2,000 veterans receive total restoration to laugh and smile. And our end goal is to get them out in the community by working or volunteering. So thank you for all the support all these years to make it possible to really honor our veterans in this way. Thank you.
Thank you for your time today. My name is Chelsea Patterson, Patterson for the record. I'm the Executive Director of Adopt a Vet Dental. It has just been a privilege to get to serve alongside these wonderful people and to meet the needs of our veterans. I just wanted to share with you that in 2019, our veterans spent 96 days in treatment and had over 8 appointments. In 2020, we saw an increase in that to 236 days in treatment due to COVID, and 7.5 appointments. Currently, for fiscal year 24, we were down to 47 days in treatment and only 7 appointments. With our milling machine and our new clinic, you can see that time cut in half, maybe even more. So, thank you.
Well, thank all of you for being here. That was an extended public comment, but that's which I'll probably never again do it in any other committee, so don't tell. But committee members, any questions for? I mean, what an amazing program, Adopt a Vet, and to do that work and put it together, and your excitement about putting it together is tangible. It really, really is. Go ahead, Senator Titus.
Thank you. So I have been here the whole time you've been presenting, and I will tell you, thank you. Just thank you. It's been amazing and what you've been able to do and your passion and staying with it and seeing that growth from the very first time you presented. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Well, just you're coming to thank us, but we want to thank you, Director Gonzalez and Director Haig and Director Patterson. All the work that you're doing for the veterans, a really important part of our community. We really appreciate it. So thank you. Don't forget to leave a little paperwork for us. Okay. All right. That being said, that's it. We didn't have any callers, so our meeting is adjourned.